Hello, everybody, and welcome back. Lovely that you could join me. Tonight, I have a very strange account from Portugal, and it's a woman who's talking about something that happened to her much earlier in her life. And like many of us out there, sometimes you have to get to a certain age before you're prepared to tell people about some of the stranger things that you've seen. And this lady encountered a Neanderthal, is how she described it. And a woman in Portugal claims she and her sister saw two Neanderthals, said the Cryptozoology News, which is run by Michael Bachman, and it's a wonderful blog. You should have a look at it, and I put a link to it into the description. Let's get back to the story. The 83-year-old Sierra de la Estrella resident told Cryptozoology News she and her sister were caring for a herd of cows when they spotted the two primitive men. I was 5 years old and my sister was 8, she went on to say. We were in a remote area in the Sierra de Australia when we saw two naked men speaking in a totally strange language. She said this happened in 1939, and then we saw them entering a cave, she said. The following day, she explained, they decided to check out the cave with their sheepdog. But when we reached the cave, our dog didn't want to go in. He kept growling, and my sister wanted to go back. We could smell smoke that appeared to come from inside the cave. Later that day, she reports that when they told their father about the incident, he became angry. He told us he already knew about the existence of these people, and he said they were the original people who survived in a few numbers and were still living in a primitive state. I remember him saying that there were only about half a dozen of these individuals left, which is really sad. The wild people, as the woman referred to them, were described as being naked and had a yellowish skin colour. In 2015, a man in North Carolina reported to have seen a 10-foot tall Neanderthal. Now, Neanderthals are a species of humans believed to have gone extinct about 40,000 years ago, and some people report seeing them. Some people call them Bigfoot, some people call them hairy hominids, or cavemen, or woodwose, or many names for them, but they generally have the same description. And I think that sometimes Neanderthal is a name that we use to describe anything that looks caveman-like or simian that we can't put within a species. I know for myself and a number of witnesses who have experienced something like this, they usually use the term Neanderthal or caveman. And I'll explain a little bit more as we go over to Norway now to another encounter. And this is a man from Norway who says he saw three entities that he believes were extraterrestrials. Now, the Rizor resident said he was walking in the woods in the middle of the day when he came upon two small lights floating in front of him. It was about 3 meters, 10 feet away from it. And the Norwegian man wrote on MUFON about the August 2009 incident. It then began swirling faster and faster until a black hole appeared where the lights were. Now, according to the man, a glowing spear with legs fell off the hole and started walking towards him. I tried to run away by hiding in the woods, but it went through the trees like there was no trees there. The eyewitness says he feared for his life, so he decided to confront the strange legged object, and he claims that when he grabbed it with his hands, he felt an electric and vibrating shock, and that he was thrown into the air and he'd landed on the farm field. I felt like I was sinking into the ground, he said, and that's when he purportedly heard a voice he believes could be speaking Hebrew or Arabic. I screamed, asking for help, and when I turned my head, I saw a white male about 250 centimeters tall, so around 8 feet. I went into shock, and then suddenly 3 orbs showed up by his side. He goes on to claim that 3 grey humanoids came out of these spheres. They looked angry at me, he said, and the tall man pointed at the woods and commanded them to roll away, he said. The man didn't elaborate any further, but claims to have been with these entities for about 8 hours. Rizor is a town located on the coast, and it has a population of about 7,000 people. But I do remember not too long ago, there was a gentleman in Finland who saw Neanderthals near his. Let me just see if I can find it for you. Near his sauna, of all places. It says Finland. A man in eastern Finland says he saw two hairy Neanderthal-looking humanoids. Ratvar resident Isaki Mieto told Cryptozoology News he was chopping firewood next to his house when he came upon the two beings on the 21st of December 2017. I live in a relatively secluded area, with the nearest neighbour living kilometres away, said the 48-year-old, who claims to hold a PhD in aerosol physics, obtained at the University of Eastern Finland. The weather was dry and cold, well below freezing, and there was already a layer of snow on the ground. And after firing up the stove in his sauna, he went back inside and waited for it to warm up. I checked through the window if the smoke was still coming from the sauna's chimney, and I noticed two vaguely humanoid figures exiting the sauna, leaving the door ajar and stalking into the woods. The two creatures he had were big humanoids walking in a hunched posture. After I lost sight of the figures in the woods, I checked the sauna, and it had warmed already pretty well. Only that the door was left open and it had let all the warmth out. I produced an electric torch from the anteroom of the sauna, and with its light, I saw the unexpected visitors had left brown, coarse hair around everywhere. He also claimed to have found footprints because the Neanderthals were barefoot. Now, as we see, it depends on not only on the witness and what they see and their knowledge of what they see. And all of them saw humanoid type creatures. I think the gentleman in Norway probably saw something of an extraterrestrial realm. But the other two people, I'm unsure. They both described seeing Neanderthals, quite tall, hair covered, out there in the woods, living wild, as we find all over the world. I mean, from Zana in Russia to the woodroos in the UK and many other places across the world. People see these bipedal creatures. And they also see the little white lights that they talk about. I know here in Scotland, in the very north, there are lots of small white lights that are often caught on camera in one of our busiest areas. And these lights can be seen in the daytime, and they're almost orbish in appearance, but seem to emit their own light in some way. I'm really unsure what they are. I actually put a video of them together, just in case that somebody else could answer maybe what they are, but up to now nobody's been able to do it. So if you know anything about these small lights, and it's not Will-o'-the-Wisp, and it's not Neptune or Jupiter or any of those things that we've been told, because they've happened consistently for around about 4 years now. And my strangest one for you tonight comes from Arkansas, and it's a man who sees a humanoid with a wolf head. So as you can see, humanoid tends to cover any being that's upright and on 2 feet, which is understandable. A man in Cleburne County says he and his friend came across a humanoid with a wolf head. Technician Chris Branch told Cryptozoology News that his next door neighbour was the one to actually see the creature back in February. The man specified a location, but it will remain undisclosed in this report due to privacy reasons. I have heard it moving around, but I haven't seen it, said Chris. My buddy Dell one night could not sleep, and it was around 2 a.m. He said he had a strange feeling and went to check on his horse, so he grabbed a flashlight, said the 33-year-old. Reportedly, as he approached the horse, everything seemed normal. However, he adds, when he pointed the flashlight at the edge of the woods, he noticed an unusual shape. It was sitting close to the ground, very still, but he couldn't make it out until he got closer to it. So, at about 30 feet or so, he stopped, and he noticed it was moving. At first, Branch thought it was a very big man wearing black and digging his fingers into the ground. But as he spoke to it with a very loud voice, this thing stopped what it was doing. It looked at Dell and made eye contact. He goes on to say that when his neighbour realised it was not a human being, fear came over him, of course. He backed away from this thing, and he knew it wasn't a bear or a dog. He was more the body of a builder with a wolf's head. The man says everybody in the area thinks they're crazy or on drugs, but they're not. But that he has also heard this creature moving around at night. I have heard it growl, and I've seen claw marks in the trees around. I know what I've heard, and Dell knows what he saw, said Chris. This is no lie. The dogman is a cryptid reputed to live in the northwestern quadrant of Michigan's Lower Peninsula. Although other sightings have been documented in other areas in the States. This unproven creature, Cryptozoology News goes on to say, was first reportedly spotted in 1887 by two lumberjacks, who described it as having a human body and a dog's head. In the fall of 2016, a Canadian businessman told Cryptozoology News he'd spotted a creature that looked like a wolf walking upright while he was driving through Wisconsin. 7 months earlier, a 13-year-old in Muskego, Wisconsin, allegedly had an encounter with a similar creature. In 2015, a group of 3 people in Michigan reportedly came across an unidentified dog-like creature in the woods of St. Clair County. And then just 2 weeks ago, an eyewitness in New York was reported to have seen a humanoid with a wolf-like head. It's in Oneida, New York. A New York resident on Monday said he spotted a humanoid with a wolf-like head. The 16-year-old witness, a Native American from Oneida, who provided his identity, but was kept anonymous as per the standard code of journalism ethics, recording disclosure of the identity of a minor. The young man told Cryptozoology News that he was on his neighbour's property looking for wild berries in the summer of 2017 when he encountered the creature around 4:30 p.m. I found some berries and was picking through them when what he heard sounded like several branches nearby breaking. So I went to investigate the noise, he said. The boy says he observed the creature clearly, then decided to run away. I didn't think anymore. I started walking up the hill slowly. I heard it approaching me, so I ran as fast as I could. And I reached my neighbour's open cornfield, and that's when I believed it stopped in pursuit. The student described the animal as 7 feet tall, humanoid, with grey and white fur on its cheeks, hands, and neck. It had bright blue eyes, and the eyes were glowing. It looked more human than wolf, and I noticed it had claws about 2 to 3 inches long, he said. He added that he and his family had also spotted UFOs every now and then in this area. Being Native American, you hear stories of men with the ability to shift into an animal, any animal. But this thing scared me. I've been back to that trail ever since, and I haven't told this story to anyone. Now, we have dogman accounts in the UK and all across Europe, to be honest. So there's lots of people out there reporting things like that. Have you seen something like that and you're prepared to let us share the story? Or just privately tell me an email. But there are many, many people, myself included, that see these strange, hairy bipeds, out and about quite often. It's a very strange world that we live in. So until next time, I will bid you all a very good night, and I will see you again quite soon. Night.